What is up, guys? Doc in Progress here, coming at you with a video I didn't expect to be making. If you're new here, welcome. My name's Sham. I'm a third-year medical student at the Mayo Clinic. Drop a like, drop a comment, and subscribe. It means a lot to me. So I was at clinic today and my phone started blowing up with texts from people sending me a link to the USMLE website. And if you haven't heard already, the Step 1 exam is going to become PassFail following January 1st, 2022, which is mind-blowing. This exam has been scored for the history of the licensing exam. You know, it used to be called NBME Part 1, then it switched to this three-tier system of Step 1, Step 2, Step 3 in, I believe it was the 90s, something like that. But it's crazy to think that it's now pass-fail. And, you know, I'll throw it up. This was what they sent, and I'll leave the link down below to the actual statement they made. But in it, they reference the fact that the current system is causing great distress to medical students. The current state of residency applications and how to get to the residency application is causing great distress for students, which I think is amazing that they are speaking up about that, because it is a terrible time. And if you've watched my other videos talking about Step 1 and Step studying, it is a depressing time. It's not fun. It kind of sucks that one exam kind of dictates a lot of life, at least if you're going into certain subspecialties. But I want to share my opinion in that I don't think making it pass-fail is necessarily doing anything good. Of course, it doesn't affect me at all because I've already taken Step 1. You know, I'm going through this. I'll be graduated and a physician, knock on wood, by the time this change happens. But the problem with this situation is that they're changing Step 1 grading to pass-fail, but not changing anything else. And they do reference the fact that Step 2 CK and Step 3 will still be scored. Step 3 doesn't matter so much, but Step 2, at least in the medical school context, the fact that it's still scored just makes it so that it's now Step 1. And it causes a bit of a headache because of the timing of Step 2. Most people take Step 2 in their 4th year, or the very end of their 3rd year. Now, with Step 1 no longer mattering, just pass-fail, people are gonna, you know, no problem, whatever, take that. And now this dedicated study period that we all get from our medical schools, I think is going to be shifted towards Step 2, because now Step 2 is going to be a very important exam because it's the only standardized exam. When you think of an academic context, the only 3 things that academically differentiate you from others is your Step 1 score, and this is assuming that you go to a school that's pass-fail in the didactic years, which is most schools. So you have Step 1 score, you have clerkship grades, and you have your publications, okay? So we're talking about academics, not life story, not all that, but academics. Clerkship grades are, I mean, they're important, but also they're really not objective. They're highly subjective and differ greatly by schools. Some schools make it very easy to get honors. Some schools make it very difficult. Same goes for rotations within a school. Some rotations are easy to get honors, some are not. And the issue is that I don't really feel that clerkship grades are a comparative source between medical students. Meaning, a medical student that goes to a different school and it has a clerkship grade of whatever, you can't compare that student based on their clerkship grade to a medical student from a different school. Because a lot of times, clerkship grades are not just based on your shelf exam score. Most of the time, the bulk of the grade is based on clinical evaluations you receive from your preceptors, you know, residents, consultants, and those people differ greatly between medical institutions. So really, I would call a clerkship grade a subjective grade. Publications, I also feel, are somewhat subjective. And I don't mean in the context of people that go to top tier schools. I think it's a great way to compare people that go to top tier research institutions and schools that are affiliated with these top tier research institutions. Because if you have two students coming from the same school and one has 10 publications and one has 1, that is drastically different. They both have the same opportunity, and publications show grit. They show an above and beyond ability to give this scientific output while being bunkered down in a library studying, you know, the medical school curriculum, which is very taxing, but you know, you're still able to give this output, which is, you know, everyone wants you to be academic in that sense, where wow, you've discovered something, you're asking questions, you're looking for things, and you're outputting and sharing it with the scientific community. Now, my problem comes with people that are not necessarily at top tier institutions. And I use top tier lightly because there are many top tier students that don't go to top tier institutions. There are many reasons for that. One being financials. And as you probably saw, if you watched my other video regarding what factors you should be looking for in a medical school, one of the biggest things I point to is their financial gift to you. Are they providing you with the financial support you need? Should you go to an Ivy League charging you $500,000 for 4 years of medical school? Or should you go to your state school that's giving you tuition and you're only going to be $20,000 in debt by the end of medical school? The answer is always state school. You make medical school what it is, okay? Yes, certain medical schools will give you more opportunity, but never is that opportunity worth $500,000. No medical school in the United States, whether it be Harvard compared to some Joe Schmo school, the difference in those educations are not worth $500,000, no matter what they tell you or what fancy things they wave in your face. You should always be thinking about your financials, because in the end, yeah, you might have a degree from, you know, whatever school you go to, but you also have a bank account, and it's probably going to be near zero if you're trying to pay off that debt. So with that, these lower tier medical schools, again, lower tier, I'm using it like that because I really do frankly believe that you know, most medical schools in the United States are equal. You're not going to have the research opportunity per se, because a lot of the physicians that have these academic appointments at you know, top tier research facilities are doing just that. They're outputting high amounts of research that you as a medical student now have the opportunity to be a part of. Those opportunities may not be the same at someone at a different institution where research is not emphasized as important. So yeah, you might have the same grit on both sides, and if you both had equal opportunity, you would both have the same publications. But now that's not the case anymore. So again, subjective. So really the only standardized thing comparing two individuals that levels the playing field, that truly levels it, is your STEP scores. And step 1 right now is the most important. So now we look at step 2. So step 1's PassFail, and now step 2 becomes important. People, I've heard this argument now, even in just the few hours this has been out, and you know, people are saying, oh, step 2 is easier than step 1. You know, people generally, the grade is inflated. People, you know, generally a 260 on step 2 equals a 245 on step 1. And at the moment, yeah, that kind of inflation is true. But guess what? There's a big discrepancy here that people are not thinking about, and it's the fact that individuals who have already done well on step 1 and are going into hyper-competitive specialties are not taking step 2 until after they've already submitted their residency applications. Meaning they really, they care about it, but they don't care about it that much. They've put their grind into step 1, gotten the score they need, and now step 2 is just a matter of taking it, doing okay, and getting above that hump. You're not submitting it to your residency program when they're trying to figure out if they should give you an interview. So all this does is now it's going to push all those people who did really well on step 1, who are going into hyper-competitive specialties, to now take step 2 and use that same ferocity against it and get the score they need. But guess what that does for all the people that got, you know, not so great scores on step 1 and relied on step 2 for the curve? That curve is gone. bye-bye, hasta la vista. Because when you have all these people now getting amazing scores, it all normalizes. It's a normal curve. So a 260 is really going to be a 260. It's going to be a step 1 260 now, but just relevant to step 2. So all the people that counted on step 2 to be a redemption factor, that's not going to happen. So really what this is going to affect those individuals. It's not going to affect the high tier applicant applying to the hyper-competitive specialties where step 2 at this moment in time doesn't really matter that much. They're still going to do well. It's the people that, you know, are trying to use it for the curve, which will no longer exist. Not to mention that this kind of creates a difficult situation for people who are going into hyper-competitive specialties, because those specialties generally require away rotations. And so for neurosurgery and orthopedic surgery, you're not taking step 2 until, you know, November, December, January, whatever, step 2 CK. And that allows you to do your away rotations earlier in the year, when other people that are doing things like I am, where step 2 does matter, they're doing that right after they finish their rotations, because you're obviously retaining more then, so you want to do well on it, so you take it right after third year. Versus me, I'm doing away rotations, I'm planning to do away rotations from, you know, July to whatever, end of September. Now a portion of that time is going to have to be used on step 2 for those people that are taking it after 2022. So it creates a bit of a bottleneck where you will no longer be able to do as many away rotations as you would probably prefer to. You will be limited to 2 at most away from your normal rotation. Right now people are beginning to do 3 away. So 1 at home and 3 away. Now, at most, you'll be able to do 2 away, at least in a time frame that makes any sense, because you'll have to fit in step 2 somewhere before you apply to residency. In the end, there's always going to be, you know, things that are used to compare one person to another. I say this completely knowing how much step 1 causes stress. I mean, I was extremely stressed. My friends were extremely stressed. I knew how much it meant to my future, but I got over it. And I think, you know, it's great that an emphasis is put on mental health right now. But my fear is that people are going to now not be compared in any standardized fashion. And that really creates problems for those individuals who are choosing lower tier schools just for financial reasons, to be close to family, whatnot. Reasons other than, you know, these people that got into Harvard but chose state school. Those people are going to be hurt by this trend of pass-fail and non-standardization, because when it comes down to it, let's say everything was pass-fail, let's say there was no standardized exam we took that would compare us all that's going to matter in the end then are subjective criteria, and the prestige of your school is going to become such a significant factor on where you go to residency and what specialty you do. I think that's very detrimental. I think it's better for us to just suck it up now and, you know, get the standardized score and move forward in our careers. Again, this doesn't affect me, but I can't deny that I'm happy it doesn't affect me, because I do think it's going to create certain situations and problems for those that come after me. And I hope things work out. I do believe the USMLE and the board all did this with good intent. I just wonder if this is the right move. I feel that it isn't at this point, but I'm not really sure what else could be done other than, you know, if they just said to everyone, suck it up, you know, stress is a part of becoming a doctor and you got to do it. I don't necessarily think that's the answer, because mental health issues are a serious problem. More than 1/3 of medical students around the world are depressed, and that is a massive issue. And there's no denying that step 1 plays into that. But, you know, this is still going to happen, even with step 1 pass-fail, because greater emphasis is just going to be put on other exams, and people are going to be even more stressed. especially because their scores now, if step 2 becomes most important, that score is really close to residency. You have no time to make up for anything. At least step 1 you take after your second year if you go to, you know, a more traditional school, and then if you don't do so great, you have time to make it up. Now you're going to be taking step 2, and that's going to be like a big determining factor if they consider it like they consider step 1 now, and you're going to have like 3 weeks until you apply for residency. So if you do bad, I feel that will push people to be taking gap years that they don't want to take. So these are just my preliminary thoughts. I would love to hear what you think about it. Please leave a comment below and tell me your thoughts, because honestly, speaking about it, I think you know, they're clearly listening now, and speaking about it and sharing our opinions could maybe even drive them in a direction that is more positive. Sharing your ideas is important because, again, we're all human. They can only do what they think is best for us, but maybe we can come up with a better solution. And so I'd really like to hear your thoughts on that. And good luck to all those that come after me. Regardless of what was said in this video, everything works out. I believe that truly to my core. Even with changes and these great big strides in different directions, I believe that in the end, everything works out for the best. And this is a new chapter in medicine. The era of step 1 is over, and now it's time to move forward.